leaving the Gregorian calendar behind and embracing the 13-month calendar. Now, more and more, I think people are beginning to recognize how much of a distortion following the Gregorian calendar has become. There's a lot of talk about the matrix, and many of us are trying to figure out, how do we exit the matrix? You know, do we stop watching news? Do we stop reading the newspaper? Do we stop going to the jobs? What do we do? But now, more and more, it is becoming apparent that moving away from the 13-month calendar has been one of the most detrimental things for humanity. Now, I'm going to encourage everyone to go and do your little research on the Gregorian calendar and where it came from, the Julian calendar, where that came from, and then do your research on the 13-month calendar. The 13-month calendar involves 28 days each. And if you know anything about the woman's menstrual cycle, you will know that it is 28 days in length. So ancient populations and groups of people were aligned with natural time. They were looking at the moon cycle. So there were 13 moons in a year. What has happened with the Gregorian calendar is that they have compressed it into 12 months in a year, and they've made these crazy number of days. Sometimes it's 29 days, sometimes it's 28 days, sometimes it's 30 days, sometimes it's 31. That calendar was designed to coincide with the industrial age, agrarian sector, and all sorts of other things that had to do with generating wealth and structuring a society that conforms to the time that they have set. What it means is that we are no longer aligned to natural time, to cosmic time. Now, one of the most popular, or two of the most popular calendars that are 13-month calendars are the Mayan calendar and the Kemetic calendar. And those calendars are pretty much configured to align with the cosmos and the moon cycles. So I strongly recommend for us to truly exit the matrix, because the matrix is bound by time. And, you know, I think it took a little while for people to realize that a simple tool, I would like to call it a weapon, but we're going to call it a tool to be politically correct. A simple tool like the calendar is what has entrapped us in this matrix that we're all saying we need to get out of. So one quick way to exit the matrix is to start using the 13-month calendar. Let me give you an example. It's very interesting. I live here in Jamaica, and in November, on the Gregorian calendar, we were visited by a group of Igbos. November 2nd, to be exact, I interacted with them. And then on December 2nd, I interacted with a group of Dogons. And both of them, the primary thing they presented, or what stayed with me, was reference to their calendars. Those interactions were so powerful that I decided I am not even going to continue with the Gregorian calendar anymore. I am right away moving into the use of those ancient 13-month calendars. And what happened? I found out that, for example, January is the 11th month. And when I say January, I don't mean January 1 to 30th because that's Gregorian. I mean December 26th to January 22 on the Igbo calendar is what they consider the 11th month. It's a little bit different for the Kemetic. I don't know the exact timing. I think it's January 6th to February 6th. That's their 11th month. But essentially, the 11th month is this January period, the 12th month is the February period, and the 13th month is the March period. And if you really look at the seasons, you will see that March is about the time of spring. So anything you sow in spring is going to flourish in summer because the sun is becoming higher in the sky and the days are getting longer. So if we just follow that rhythm, then we will know that we begin afresh or begin anew around the springtime. Many things around the Gregorian calendar has created distortions. The celebrations around the Gregorian calendar, a lot of them are pagan, and the definition of pagan is uh, another tradition or another religion outside of yours. But a lot of the holidays that we celebrate, starting from Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Eve into New Year's Day, are holidays that have origins in things that are perhaps not as savory as we would like to think they are. There are lots of distortions, and it is our duty to search for them and stop just accepting what we are being told about these days, these holidays, these holy days. Also, the naming of the different months in the Gregorian calendar have, references to all sorts of Greek mythology that perhaps also are quite unsavory if we looked into them. So we really need to be careful and we need to do our research. I can go into the details for you, but I want to train people who are listening to me to do the research because remember, we're moving into an age now where AI is telling us everything. And I don't want you to fall into the trap of listening to what I say and calling it, the gospel. I want you to do your research, go down that rabbit hole based on what I have told you here, and know that some of the names of the months and some of the celebrations during the month are having us celebrate something that we do not know, and further hinging us to the matrix. So let's do our research. Let's go research a couple of calendars and let's see which ones fit best with your lifestyle and what you want to achieve. Personally, I'm looking at 2 calendars. I know I'm going to have to trim it down to 1. I'm looking at both the Igbo calendar and the Kemetic calendar. And what's interesting, for the month of January 2025, I decided to use both. And what I found was January 5 was the 11th day of the 11th month in the Igbo calendar. And January 18th is the 11th day of the 11th month on the Kemetic calendar. So what I do, knowing that information, is that I double up and I do very specific meditations and grounding and silence on those days. Now the January 5th 11/11 portal already passed, and I can tell you what happened. We had over 10 solar flares between Saturday night, and Sunday morning, which means that just because we tapped into that 1111 portal, we were able to get the benefit of the light codes being showered on planet Earth. So for 2025, double up. Do your research on those 13-month calendars. Choose one and follow it for the rest of the Gregorian calendar 2025. And let's have a talk next Gregorian calendar year. See how it has shifted your life.